Spoštovane ministrice in ministri.
Distinguished ministers, high-level guests, welcome to the second Global Forum on the Ethics of Artificial Intelligence, Changing the Landscape of AI Governance. The forum is organized under the patronage of UNESCO, the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. The working languages of this event will be English and French. Simultaneous interpretation from and into both languages will be available.
Monsieur, bienvenue au lancement du deuxième forum mondial sur...
Welcome to the launch of the second Global Forum on Ethics of Artificial Intelligence. This forum is organized under the sponsorship of UNESCO. The working languages during this event will be English and French mostly. Simultaneous interpreting in both languages towards Slovenian, English and French will be guaranteed during both days of the events.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the launch of the second Global Forum on Ethics in Artificial Intelligence, Changing the Landscape of AI Governance. The forum is being held under the auspices of UNESCO. The working languages of the event will be mainly English and French. Simultaneous interpretation from both languages into Slovenia and vice versa will be provided on both days of the event. We started the event with a short announcement in Slovenia, just for you to hear how Slovenian actually sounds. It is a language we are so proud of. We have roughly 2.5 million active speakers of Slovenian in the world, and it has been extremely hard to preserve and protect the language throughout our violent history, and Slovenian is actually the cornerstone of our culture. It is even quite difficult to learn Slovenian, as many people from abroad would claim, and some Slovenians complain the same. French followed, a language we deeply respect here. Did you know that it was the French who ruled here during a short 5-year stint in the early 1800s, who actually introduced Slovenian as a language in primary education? So we can just say merci. I will try to tell you some more interesting facts about the host country during the forum, but now it is high time to introduce the ladies who will set the scene for the forum in the following minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Gabriela Ramos, Deputy Director General for Social and Human Sciences at UNESCO, and Mrs. Emilija Stojmenova, Minister for Digital Transformation in the Government of the Republic of Slovenia. So, welcome on stage. Please, let's set the scene, and we start with the Minister.
Thank you so much. I'm very, very delighted to have you all here. Dear Gabriela, dear Secretary of the Conference, dear ladies and gentlemen, participants, I need to share with you that we have here participants from 67 countries from all over the world. And I think we need a round of applause for that. So today, I would like to start with one quote from Kurt Vonnegut, American writer of German roots, who concluded the first chapter of his famous book, Breakfast of Champions, with the sentence, "We are healthy only to the extent that our ideas are human." Breakfast of Champions were published in 1973. The same year, Professor Kato of Japan's Waseda University unveiled the first humanoid robot, Wabot-1, which could clumsily grasp things with its hands, walk on 2 legs, look with cameras in its eyes, and forcibly communicate with humans in Japanese. The same year, 1973, Martin Cooper made the first mobile call. The Motorola prototype weighed 2 kilograms and was affectionately known as the Brick. And since 1973, relatively little time passed, but the changes have been drastic and far-reaching. Today, just over 50 years later, We use mobile phones and AI applications to manage our smartphones, to send emails, to manage our bank accounts, learn foreign languages, walk the streets of unknown cities just as locals, take photos, keep track of traffic, weather, and all kinds of information, make hands-free calls while driving, and so on and so on. A lot has changed in the last 50 years, not only in technology, but also in politics and popular culture, and much of what we do in our daily lives. However, nothing has changed in the ethics on which Vonnegut sentence is based. Such ethics on which we can shape our intentions and actions is the first condition for our common future. When we talk today about the ethics of AI, we are on one hand creating the foundations, the value systems that will maintain the moral value of our actions not only today but even decades later. On the other hand, we are speaking about a technology which is only really beginning its development and already shows signs of changing our lives in 1,000 ways, for better and for worse. My dear friend Gabriela says that in no other field is the ethical compass more important than in AI, because the world is changing at a pace not seen since the introduction of the printing press. And just 2 days ago, on the 3rd of February, it was exactly 556 years since the death of Johannes Gutenberg, whose invention was a turning point in the history of our civilization. Today, AI has access to vast amounts of human knowledge and collective memory. We have the extraordinary privilege and great opportunity, as well as responsibility, to be present at the beginning of the development of something so radically new that it raises fundamental questions about humanity. For the time, AI is still significant unknown, even for experts, not only politicians. But one thing is certain, however: AI is our welcome and useful assistant as long as our ideas are human. That is, as long as it enhances what is best in us humans. But what is that? The answer to this fundamental question, what makes us human, from Aristotle to now, is not clear-cut. Some believe that what keeps humans at the top of evolution is aggressiveness and cunning. I say it's cooperation and empathy. Others believe that our evolution is driven by selfishness and greed. I say it's competition and solidarity. Some believe that the greatest invention of mankind is gunpowder and the gun. I disagree. I say that our greatest invention are human rights. Some say that we should be afraid of AI and that we should stop its development. I disagree. I'm afraid of the person who controls weapons based on AI. Some argue that freedom of speech is absolute, and I reply that unrestricted freedom is the worst tyranny. I have no illusions that hate speech and violence on the internet will ever be eliminated, nor do I expect that we will be able to prevent the misuse of artificial intelligence altogether, because there has never been a great invention in whole history that has not been abused by humans alongside its beneficial use. However, this does not absolve us of our responsibility and our efforts to live up to the values to which we are committed. What's more, for the sake of the survival of our wider community, we have an extraordinary opportunity to live out our mission, our values, and our commitments always and everywhere. Our country, Slovenia, takes the UNESCO recommendations about AI seriously. Slovenia is also actively participating in the European Regulation of Artificial Intelligence, which is the first legislation of its kind in the world and will regulate not the technology but the use of artificial intelligence and introduce safeguards according to the risk levels. Our country joined UNESCO in 1992 and we fully support our common core value, the power of education, which is the acquisition and transmission of knowledge. Knowledge, for us in Slovenia, is a core value, a prerequisite for development and the foundation of all our plans. Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, AI tools are getting better and better every single day and will soon be an integral part of the most of our activities. We gathered here today and tomorrow. We have the responsibility, we have the motivation, the knowledge, and also the power to achieve what we have set out to do, to develop AI that works for the good of people, so that we can be more creative in freedom, so that the quality of life is higher for all of us, and so that we can keep our planet healthy. We know what we want, so we have all the conditions to make our common future what we want it to be. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister, dear Emilija. And thank you all for being here. As she said, this is a fantastic setting. I'm seeing all the member states that are here, that are doing the readiness assessment. Welcome. I see our partners in the foundations. I see the partners in the academics, in the business sector. And I see a commonality of people that wants to do exactly what the minister said. Steer the development of these technologies in a way that it delivers for women, for women. That was a fantastic lapsus, yes, for women. I see all the ministers, and I see Alessandra, our chair of the Women for Ethical AI. No, it needs to deliver for everybody, and we know this is the task at hand. And I really want to welcome another wonderful lady, our president of the General Conference, dear Ambassador Miculescu. We're going to have the DG Azulei is coming to meet with all of you. The Deputy Prime Minister is also coming. So Slovenia really has been a fantastic partner and host. We met together. We saw that we were sharing this view. And the whole question of the forum is that we are not going to be putting the emphasis on what scares us about these technologies. We're not going to be discussing existential threats. We're not going to be discussing black boxes. We're not going to be discussing machine learning and the fact that sometimes you don't know why the computer behaves the way it does. We are neither going to be just looking at the issues that the technology raises, because this is a societal conversation. We are going to be looking at how we steer the development of these wonderful technologies to deliver for us, for people. And we are also going to be looking into the how, and as Emma would say, the why of this deployment of the technologies. This global forum, and I recognize also the Czech Republic that hosted us last year, is part of the whole infrastructure that UNESCO is putting together to implement the recommendation. We love global norms. We love global commitments. We prefer implementation. And the name of the game is implementation. We developed the readiness assessment, and this is still the only global instrument. Very proud about the European Union, very proud about the US executive order, the resolution that the US is presenting in the General Assembly.
Que les États-Unis ont présenté.
All the regions in the world, Chile with the regional council, everybody's gathering into this converging view that we have the means and we have the tools to deliver better for people. And UNESCO is playing its part, as I said, with the readiness assessment, but we are also launching the observatory on ethical AI, the AI experts without borders, the Women for Ethical AI. We have, of course, education at the center. My colleague Stefania Giannini core to the fact of what do we do with ChatGPT in education. Here you will have two panels of my colleague Tofik Elasic, who is looking into how do we use these technologies in the judicial system taking thousands of decisions, and if we don't do it ethically, we know what will be the outcome. And also the question of the platforms looking into the democratic processes that we are going to enter. Many partners here, as I mentioned, and therefore I want to also thank the European Commission, of course, the Japanese Cooperation Agency, the Development Bank in Latin America, the Patrick McGovern Foundation, Thomson Reuters Foundation, Alan Turing. It gets everybody into moving together, because I think this is the place to be and to really advance the better framing of these technologies. And let me tell you, since the launch of generative AI, almost a year and a half ago, everybody got more worried. And everyone was saying, is the recommendation fit for purpose? I think that it was a blessing in disguise, because it got leaders very worried, and when leaders worried, they do something. Secretary General of the UN established the advisory body, and we have many members of them here. And we know that the G20, we're working with Brazil on the question of how we tackle inequalities. The G7 is also framing the discussions, and you will be hearing from all of them. And therefore, I think that this is a question of advancing solutions together, because this is what we want. We want solutions. We don't want to continue talking about the threats that we have. And the truth of the matter is that even before ChatGPT, we knew that it was not only the pervasiveness of these technologies, but the speed. And the question is, how can we adapt to this changing environment? How our structures in the governments, how our structures in our minds, how our structures in the schools can adapt? Because the adaptation and the anticipation is what is really driving the change. And this is very important. 100 million users in few weeks. It was just mind-boggling. We know, for example, of the recent survey in the UK that 8 out of 10 teenagers use generative AI tools. So it's not the question of using or not. It's a question of how do we ensure that we do it in an ethical way that delivers for people, and how do we align it to address the challenges that we face. I'm very pleased to have the Global South present. Of course, I mentioned the G20, the G7, all the Global North. But at the end, we know that these are also highly concentrated technologies, and we need the Global South in this conversation. And I'm very glad that we are joined by many, many members of UNESCO that are gathering together also to deliver for good. And the core of the discussions today, and this is what we want to focus, because we want to extract very concrete learnings, is how do we enhance the capacities of governments to steer this technology? It's time to invest in governments' capacities, because, like it or not, governments frame and shape the direction of the market developments. There's no other sector. Of course, this is a pervasive sector, but all the sectors need to have these very clear framings. It's not only about regulation, it's policies, it's tools, it's incentives, it's subsidies. You call it, and you know better than us that we have many tools to steer the capacity, of course, hand in hand with the business sector, and that's why we also have the Business Council that DG Azoulay will be launching today with Microsoft, Telefonica, Salesforce, and many others that are here with us today. We were very proud last year, the Oxford AI Insights recognized the recommendation as the major development, and particularly the Latin American Council, because we have these groups of countries getting together because they have similarities. And we are working also with Africa and with the GPI and many others. So I think a convergence of view, I see a convergence of willingness to drive the change for good. And this is the message that I want to leave with all of you. We are not powerless. It's not about whether we can control or not. It's whether we can really steer these technologies that are so amazingly good. And the sad thing is that because of all this news on the negative impacts, you and I will have talked, it's just amazing technologies. The kind of deliverables that they can bring to us humans is just great. And therefore, how do we ensure that in the 7 years that we have left to deliver on the SDGs, we bring the technologies with us to deliver for good? And this is part of the construction that we have in this wonderful place. And again, with big thanks to our Slovenian host. And I'm looking forward to learning with you and also to walk the talk with you. Thank you so much.